What you see here is the framework for a social housing project named Quinta Monroy, located in the center of Iquique in Chile. The original land had been illegally occupied by 97 families for over 30 years that led to disordered settlements and complaints from the neighbors. Residents were provoked to seek government subsidies to redevelop the settlement. From 2003, a government social housing project was coordinated by the architecture firm Elemental with a budget of $10,000 per household. The residents were temporarily relocated, and 93 modular and interlinked apartments were built around a series of courtyards. To make the best possible use of space, they created denser, more efficient units that could be expanded over time by the households. The initial home would cover 35 square meters of floor area, and then, once the resident could afford it, the home could be expanded up to 72 square meters, both vertically and horizontally. The ultimate mission of everyone involved was to settle the families in the same site, instead of displacing them to the periphery. No other solutions in the market could solve this equation. Typically, when there is not enough money to build a comfortably sized home for a family, the market response is to simply make the home smaller. Elemental rephrased the answer to instead build half a good home that is comfortably sized. A delayed but practical approach to comfortable sized living. Many of the homes, named as half houses, have since doubled the size of their apartment, more than double in value, and reformed the settlement in ways not anticipated by Elemental. As for the layout of the homes, Elemental designed what was essentially the core of the home, fitted out with the very basics: a kitchen, bathroom, some partition walls, and an internal timber stair. The initial volume was built with concrete block structures and is double-heighted with generous spaces, as if it were a chunk of a middle-class income home equipped with good yet limited facilities. Each of these box structures alternated with an empty space of exactly the same size. In this opening, the family could take these generous spaces and tailor the structure to their needs, customizing their space at their own expense and labor, adding color, texture, and life. Through this process, the dwellings grew in size and value. The residents also developed a sense of pride, ownership, and belonging to their homes. Efficiency was key in making use of the tight site. Many basic options were ruled out as they did not meet practical requirements. Isolated houses would take up too much land. High rises would block any future expansion. Row housing compromised access to light and ventilation from any additional rooms. It also meant that there would be a loss of privacy, since circulation in row housing is linear and risked overcrowding. The settlement would offer two different house typologies, both with their own unique merit. The first type of house would see 3 modules on ground floor, leaving one of the modules unbuilt for future expansion. It also came with a backyard. The second type of house consisted 4 modules on the upper 2 floors, making up duplex units, with 2 of the modules left open for future expansion. The inhabitants have gradually continued what the architects started with the expansion of their dwellings with lightweight construction materials due to the structural limitations as per their guidelines. Some have already occupied the empty modules, with the inhabitants of the ground floor occupying the backyard area, and the ones of the upper floor have also extended above the backyard area after discussing with their neighbors. Instead of an inflexible prefabricated unit, residents can now customize the second half around their actions, which leads to the dwelling's sustainable life cycle instead of its deterioration. This move reduced construction costs and allowed for each house to be unique with the inhabitants' input. Moreover, a sense of community was established around the 4 common courtyards. The process for the scheme was collaborative and hands-on. Models and full-scale plans, as well as a series of workshops with the architects and organizers, helped residents prepare for the transition. Smaller clusters of residents used paper models to envision the collective aesthetic of their neighborhood. The model was so successful, it even set the precedent for other international organizers to appoint Elemental to design similar houses. In Monterrey, Mexico, for instance, a similar housing typology was developed applying the same principles of efficient design and community engagement. The project was aimed towards low-income families who couldn't access adequate dwelling space during the climate of Mexico's housing economy. Ultimately, Quinta Monroy is a working example of social housing done right, especially in neighborhoods where informal housing is still accepted. For families in need, a modest government subsidy can lead to a real turning point away from poverty. Leading architect of Elemental, Alejandro Aravena, said that this is how we can contribute using architectural tools to non-architectural questions. In this case, how to overcome poverty.